Well, welcome to another episode of Wisdom on the Front Porch. And today we have Matteo with us. Matteo, thank you for being here. Tell our audience just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you, LS. I really appreciate being on this show and also what you stand for, which is helping people discover their purpose. So I love that. And I discovered mine after, 53 years. Um,
You sound
my
like me.
background, yeah. So my background, I've been a private investigator actually for 30 years and a certified fraud examiner. And I ran a company, one of the top companies in Canada. And it got to a point where, it wasn't really, it kind of hit its life cycle for me. And what I liked, I think, the most about what I was doing is obviously the various cases and stuff that I did, a lot of weird and wonderful things that I got involved in. But it became to a point where it was more managing people. And I really liked that part. And I think what I liked most is kind of helping them kind of feel better about what they were doing and their life purpose, right? But it didn't translate amazing as an investigator. So I wanted to take it further, and because of that, and then I had experiences with two divorces, and my last divorce had a child involved, and that was about 15 years ago, and it was probably not probably it was the toughest time of my life, and my daughter was just turning 2 at the time, and just the thought of not being able to see her every day and not spending that time with her just really crushed me.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it was very difficult for me. And from that point, I really felt like there was a need for I couldn't find any help. So I tried Googling people that could coach me into how do I get through this divorce? How do I move forward? I just felt really alone. And
Okay.
even the friends that I did reach out to there, which were amazing, they were very supportive, but a lot of them hadn't gone through what I went through. So although they were supportive in a way, they weren't really helpful to know what I was going through and to kind of give me
Right.
tools and things for me to grasp onto and to grow. I would fast forward many years later. There was a huge struggle, and where I even lost touch with my daughter for a couple of years. Uh,
Hmm.
and I did a lot of self-growth, personal development. And it was at the time where I really realigned my values, where everything shifted for me.
Now, what do
And
you mean by realigned your values?
right, so realigning my values, basically, when I was trying to even communicate with my ex-spouse or with my daughter, I wasn't doing it from a place where I was aligned with what I actually wanted out of the relationship with my daughter or out of the communication with my ex-spouse. For example, when I really dug deep and figured out that all I really wanted at a higher level with my ex-spouse is just love. I wanted us to be able to communicate effectively, and it wasn't happening. And I wasn't coming. So when I realized it was love, after doing, it's called an alignment, a values elicitation. So it's something we use in NLP. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Just a little bit,
Yeah. So
but,
neural
but we'll go
linguistic
into that
programming.
in a minute.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't until then that I realized, wait a minute, the highest value of what I really want out of my communication, at least with my ex-spouse, was love. But I wasn't being loving. I was unlovable. So how do I expect to reach that highest value when I wasn't presenting myself that way? So when I
Right.
really realized that is when everything shifted for me. And it unfortunately took 14 years to do that. And now I have the greatest relationship with my daughter, and my ex-spouse has, we have a good communication relationship. She's been to my house at parties, and it's not like we vacation together or anything like that, but we can communicate and be in the same room. And there was no way I ever would have thought that would have been possible when I was
Isn't
going.
that something? Wow. You said something earlier on about you like managing people. What does that really mean?
I really liked. I really like listening to people and learning what their difficulties, what their challenges were, and
Yeah.
helping them and guiding them through that and managing, I guess managing might not have been the word I was looking for, but I really like to kind of understand people and help people. And that's what really brought me to do what I'm doing now.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah.
Good. Yeah. Okay. So now we can talk about NLP. What is NLP?
So NLP is neuro linguistic programming. And what really put me on to NLP is I remember many years ago, I'm 53, when I was in my 20s, doing surveillance, sitting in a car. I used to listen to these old Tony Robbins, they were cassettes back then, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and it resonated with me. Like a lot of it really resonated with
Oh,
me on
good.
how he kind of how we delete, distort, and generalize things that come in through our filters.
Right.
And it really got me curious. And the more I listened to him, it really got me curious as to the systems that he was using and what he was doing actually. And I
Mhm.
found that he was taught in NLP, which is, like I said, neuro linguistic programming, which basically looks at your unconscious mind, which runs basically 95% of our life. We're on
Yep.
autopilot essentially, and just looking at that and reevaluating those programs, that those limiting beliefs that are not even real. There's stuff that
Oh,
we've
yeah.
in our formative years, 0 to 7, is things we've learned, and we're basically adults now with a old childlike programs.
Yeah.
So that it really intrigued me. Yeah.
I it's interesting you're talking about this morning. I was, just doing some cleaning up and whatnot, and the thought popped into my head, beggars can't be choosers. Now I knew we were not beggars. And this thought, I don't know what where it came from, but uh I remember my mom telling me, and I was a very young child, and I understood that we need to um, receive what we are given. And I thought, now that I'm an adult, it's like, so were you telling us that we're beggars? Because I know we weren't. you know, now that I'm, excuse me, now that I'm going through a lot of this mindset shift. And I have to say, 2 weeks ago, I had a day that it was just like, I was just like, if someone took a puzzle and put it on something and then just exploded it and pieces were flying everywhere. And, but the pieces that needed to stay were still attached. You just needed to get them there. And it finally got to this one day that I just kind of had to shut everything else out to deal with it. And I was thinking it all over and what's going on and trying to figure it out. And somebody had said, when you're going through growing pains, whether that's changing the subconscious, getting through this, it's exactly that. It's growing pains. And I thought, oh, so that's what's going on with me. And once I realized that I was going through growing pains in my mind, it's like, okay, now I understand what's happening. And because I couldn't figure out what was going on, why was I at this? I actually was alerted by myself that I was starting to do self sabotage. And I never noticed that I ever did that before. And it's like, whoa, that's an eye opener. And why would I do that? When did I do it? Just all these things going through. And it was just, that one day I was at the point that I'm just going to block every day out. I just need to go get myself in order. All these things going through there. And it's like, wait a minute, put the brakes on. What's happening here? And that's when I realized something was going on. So, of course, I fixed my calendar and put it back to open up, which was a really smart thing to do because the very next day I woke up feeling like all this weight and pressure that was on me was totally gone. It wasn't lifted off of me, it was just totally gone. And it's like, wow, I am so glad I went back and fixed my calendar because now everything started to fall into place. And I started getting more clients, more appointments, more people on the podcast. And it was surprising. All this stuff I'd been working for to get rid of all the junk actually worked. you so that was really good. So yeah, I'm not stopping that. I want to get some more out of there. But it was so surprising to get that beggars can't be choosers. And I thought, gosh, what else was I told as a kid? And I'm just going to go through this real quick because I think some of us go through that too. It's and my kids actually taught me this one. I never heard this one growing up. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And
That's a
I
great.
thought, well, that one I can understand because it's more about being content where you are. And I'm learning about this content because I used to be content all the time. And then life happened that I fully walked into, only I had no idea what the results are going to be. But being content just means that I am at peace with myself no matter what else is going on around here. And so, get what you get and don't throw a fit. Well, we need to act and react not by throwing fits, but by seeing what the challenge is, seeing what we can do, seeing, well, maybe this isn't what I wanted and it was the only thing available, but what can I do next time to make sure I do get what I want? What can I do with this now that I have it? How can I make it into something that will help propel me to success? And you talking about the NLP really brought that up. So let's talk more about what we can offer our audience, those that are watching either this first one or watching the replay of it. Well, I guess you went through all of this with a process, and your process was learning that you had some stuff inside of you needed to change, that you weren't real specific about what you wanted. And
Right.
did you have to figure out yourself what you wanted before you actually knew how to ask?
Yes. That's the number one thing I believe that we have to ask ourselves real questions and questions that are important to us and positive ones because in every situation there is a higher intent and purpose to whatever it is. So asking yourself the right questions is the most important thing for anyone to do when they're stuck. Okay,
Right.
this self-sabotaging, like we automatically get defaulted to the negative. Oh, why does this always happen to me? Or why is this going on? Instead, if you just reframe the question to what is this teaching me right now?
There
And
you
what
go.
can I do to break through this challenge or look at it as a challenge, not as an obstacle. Look at it as, hey, wait a minute, let me see what I can do. There's resources everywhere. We have so many resources today with the internet and with
Yeah.
amazing people like yourself. And it's just a matter of being resourceful and not just trying to get our resources from our that old brain that we have conditioned in ourselves that is just
Yes.
going to give us negative feedback like I'm not good enough and I shouldn't be doing this or
Yeah. Or the
whatever the
big one I hear is, oh, this always happens to me. It's just no matter what, this is the way it always happens. And it's like, okay, stop there and say, why does it always happen? What what are the processes, the steps that goes through that it always happens? And say, it's not going to happen anymore. I'm making that shift.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You have to, it's all about asking yourself the better questions and knowing that there's a higher intent and purpose. And you can find it in any situation.
Yep.
Any situation. You have to just ask yourself. What I found really helped me tremendously is a morning routine,
Oh, yeah.
which involves I wake up, I do my 3 sets of 30 deep breaths. It's the Wim Hof type breathing.
Okay.
And every 30 breaths, I hold my breath as long as I can. And then I release it and do 3 sets of that. After that, I do a 10-minute meditation that I've actually created myself. And throughout the meditation, there's a little bit of breathing. And then there's gratitude work, of course, and just healing work and things that I want to accomplish in the next day, week, or year.
Oh,
And
good.
it really sets the tone for my day. And then I'll do a light little exercise, even if it's a walk outside. It doesn't have to be, heavy weightlifting, but that's also good for us as well.
Yes.
So that was a game changer for me. And recently I've been doing these cold showers where I know it's a big thing going on now with all these
Yeah.
cold plunges and stuff, but it works. I mean, going into a cold shower, even for 5 minutes and coming out, the inflammation is that you feel better throughout the day. So I don't know,
I'll,
it just puts me in a better mood.
I'll give you a hint what I ended up doing because I don't like the cold. I lived in cold weather for a lot of years and I do not like being cold. And if I'd been out working hard and whatnot, especially in the summer or something, it's one thing to take a cold shower or a cooler shower. But just to get up in the morning, put a cold shower, it's like, can't do this. So I do my regular shower. I turn the cold water on for about a minute and then I put the warm water back on. So, but it's nice. It's like, oh, I can take a little bit of a cold, and it's you can work up to it gradually. Maybe next time it's a minute and a half and then 2 minutes. It reminds me of the story I heard about a gentleman who was on the Titanic. And there was the concern that what if it sinks? It's not supposed to be sinkable, but what if it does? So he actually would get ice and put in his bathtub and sit in that bathtub of ice for as long as he could stand it. And it keep getting longer and longer each time. And he was a survivor.
Really?
That was, yeah, he did survive. That's how we got to know his story because he told people that's what he did to survive. And that
Wow.
was actually pretty ingenious, I thought. You're going to be into this really icy cold water. And it's like, simple thing to think of, but most of us don't think of those things. That's why we have each other, the
Yeah,
community. Getting to know
exactly.
know one another makes a difference.
And speaking of a community, I'm starting this school community. I'm not sure if you heard of that platform, School, SKOOL.
I've just been introduced to it October.
Oh, okay,
Because
great,
we're in
great.
November now. I keep forgetting we're
Yeah,
already in November, man.
no, we are, we are. I know we're
Yeah.
getting close to Christmas. Yeah, so I started this school community, and right now I'm just building it up, but it is for divorced dads, and
Okay.
it's because of what I
So
went through.
let me get things straight. School is not just one community, it's several communities.
Right. So
Right. Yeah. So
school
you
is
have
several
your
communities, but
community
you
on.
can build your own community within
Right.
school, a
Right.
private
Right.
community. And if people join, right now it's free. It will turn to a subscription base in the future. But
Right.
what I plan to do is just bring information and add massive value to help people. That's
Yes.
my goal because I know that people are suffering, men are suffering out there that are going through divorce
Oh
and and
yeah.
and communicating with their exes and having that relationship with their kids. So what I'm planning to do is planning to have webinars and podcasts, and
Nice.
I may defer to you for some of the podcasting tips and tricks.
You got
And
it.
have I'll have lawyers on monthly mediators. So lawyers will be on there kind of helping people out with questions that they may
Oh,
have,
that's awesome. Yeah.
basic questions that they may have and feel stuck. I'll have mediators that could explain the mediation process with
Okay.
schedules and how that kind of all works and plays out. I can have not I can I will have teachers, principals that can talk about the effects on children from split families and stuff that happens that they're seeing in the schools that perhaps are not translated to the parents. Um, Also have psychologists and pediatricians kind of on their take, as well as adult children that grew up in split families. And I think this is really
Very
important.
good. Yeah.
Them to speak their truth and the challenges that they went through growing up and what maybe would have helped them. Right. So I think
Yeah.
this is really important and valuable
It's good.
information for people. Yeah.
It is. So to add to that, and I have it if you would like it. Last year at this time, I had a couple of podcasts. At the time, it was Value in You podcast, and one was on the holidays, how to navigate the holidays. Everything's coming up. What do you do? And then the other one is blended families and the holidays. How do you decide what to do? You might have 10 homes you have to be at for Thanksgiving or 10 homes you have to be at for Christmas, and how do you negotiate those? Right now, they're free PDFs that are on my website. It's lskirkpatrick.com/free. I think that's what it is. But you'll find it lskirkpatrick.com. You'll see freebies on there. But yeah, Matteo, if you would like to have those to give to your community, I would love to share that with you because it's really tough. How do you know how to what to do on the holidays? I mean, we've got Thanksgiving coming up here real quick. What are you going to do? What do you bring? Who does what? Now that and this may be your first year as a blended family, how do you decide what to do? How do you keep peace in the family? One thing I did put on there, and I really want to let people be alert to, is if somebody is adamant about having this certain day or this certain time that everybody will be at their house, ask them why. What is the reasoning behind it? What emotion does it bring to them? Is it a memory that they have? Is it because it's just the way it's always been? They want to keep that tradition going. What's really going on with that and with your own family? Ask if you have new kids to ask your kids what's important to them. What do they really like? What makes this holiday the best? And what don't they like? What are things that just makes it excruciating for them, I guess. And it depends on how old they are. Teenagers, sometimes there's just no pleasing. I'm sorry, teenagers, but I was one once and I've been through it. It's just tough time to negotiate, but it's also a tough time for them going into this blended family because now you've changed their whole lives. So not that it's bad, not that it's good, what indifferent or anything, but this change has happened. So talk to them, ask them the things that they've always enjoyed about the holidays, what they've always thought was important, and be willing to listen. Just say, I really want to know, and go from there.
That brings so much warmth to me. What you said, it really resonates with me because it's really important to understand people, listen to what people are saying, and really understand with an open heart. And I think that's very important. I know you said that teenagers are very difficult, and they're going through a difficult
Times.
time.
Yeah.
My daughter's 17 now, and it's interesting because I've asked her the last time we met. I said, "Hey, tell me what really what excites you? Like what do you really love? Like tell me. I want to know. Like I'm curious." And she said, going out to bars and drinking. I know 17 is the drinking age here is
Yeah.
19, but they get away with fake IDs and stuff. But I really wanted to know what really excites her, and that excites her. Going to the beach and going on vacations excite her, and doing well in school. So getting good marks.
Yeah.
And those are the things that excite her. So I think by asking, like you said, you at least get to know what their triggers are, what they really want. And if
Right.
you can somehow understand and meet them there, it will make a whole lot of difference in communicating with them and having that loving relationship.
Definitely. Now, one thing I want to kind of add to what your daughter said about going to bars and drinking like that, you can go a little bit step further and say, well, what is it about that you really like? What do you get from it? And sometimes they're just going to be defiant. There's nothing you can do about that. And it's like, well, just let them be. And it's like, okay, you know, but and don't make comments on it, but let them have their say in what they're doing. And if you're finding it difficult, there is nothing wrong with going to get professional help to find out how to communicate. um, but yeah, find out, is it because this is where they feel like they can just be themselves? Is it because this is where all of their friends meet? Not that they really enjoy the drinking and partying and all of that stuff, but they enjoy being around their friends. It's good to find out what I guess I keep going back to what is the emotion behind it, because emotion ties us to something so tightly. It's connecting us to something. And yeah, so but you don't press it. If they don't want to talk, don't press it. Just say, well, I just really wanted to know the truth because I want you to be happy too.
Absolutely. And if you lead with empathy and curiosity, I believe that that really it's innocent. I mean, you're curious, and to your
And
point,
you're
I
honest.
did ask her, and she did say that it makes her feel more herself actually, and I think
Yeah.
it's alcohol kind of loosens up her personality, and she's
It's all
more
soul up.
outgoing,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
asked her, what's important about that to you, to do that?
Oh,
Why
good.
is that important to you, right? So I asked her all the questions, and a lot came out of it. So maybe we can,
Nice.
go over that on a different podcast. But a lot
Yeah,
came
there
out of
you
it.
go.
It's just about understanding where they're
Yeah.
coming from, genuinely understanding. And to
Yeah.
your
And,
point,
and letting them say what they have to say, not judging, not telling them it's right or wrong. Let them have their words. Because if you do that, then they're more willing to talk to you later on. Not that they're going to be your best friend or they're going to tell you everything that's going on, but but if you can get that open dialogue, it does make a difference. Excellent. So tell us more about a little bit more about your community. I mean, you covered it a great deal. How does somebody get into your community? Where do they find it?
well, they can find it on my website, which is divorcedadshelp.com. And on my website, there's a school community page that will bring them there, and they can
Okay,
find out about it there. And that's I have my book on there. So I wrote a book called Authentic Fatherhood: Rediscovering Your
nice.
Best Self After Divorce, and it's basically my story on what I went through and what helped me navigate my divorce. And it took the point that the reason I really wanted to write this book is it was a 14 tough years,
Hmm.
and I wanted to put it in this book to say, hey, it doesn't need to take 14 years. And I have friends right now that have been going through it for many years. And until they're ready, I think, until people are ready, like the old saying, you can't bring a horse to the water, you can't make it drink. I think
That's
until
right.
people really want that help, and you can't really give it to them. So by writing this book, it's really for the point of helping people that want to be helped, that are stuck and want some kind of tools and stuff they could use to
Good.
have better communication and not
Yeah.
lose.
We're going to have to stop it right here for part one to be respectful of your time. Join us for part two to hear more of what Matteo has to say on Wisdom on the Front Porch.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, Ellis Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and receive a second year absolutely free. This is a limited time offer available exclusively to those who mention the name of today's podcast. Join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.
We're going to have to stop it right here for part 1 to be respectful of your time. Join us for part 2 to hear more of what Matteo has to say on Wisdom on the Front Porch.